In this video, we are talking all things fourth grade. Let's dive in. First of all, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Kaela. I am a homeschool alumni turned homeschool mom. I'm currently homeschooling my 9.5-year-old and my 6.5-year-old. They're starting fourth grade and first grade respectively, and this will be our 6th year homeschooling. I have a very eclectic approach to our homeschool and the resources that I pull. Additionally, we are a family of faith, but we use mostly secular resources in our homeschool. I love to share homeschool resources with you guys on this channel, as well as just what's going on in our day-to-day life and our home education journey as a family. This is video 2 in a 4-part series. I've already shared all of my picks for first grade, so if you missed that video, I will put it in the cards and in the description box below. Next week, I'll be sharing our family curricula picks and also our literature / family read aloud selections for the year. As I'm sharing our curricula picks for 2023 through 2024, I'm actually joining a collaboration being hosted by Cassie over at Regular Secular Mama. If you have not checked out her channel or her Instagram, I highly recommend that you do. There's quite a few grade levels and homeschooling styles represented among this group. I can almost guarantee you'll find something of value for your family. So make sure that you check out the playlist. I will link it down below in the description box. And just like always, all of the resources and curricula that I share with you today will be itemized and linked in the description box below. Okay, so let's dive in. Fourth grade. My motto for 2023-2024 is really to simplify. So I'm cutting out a lot of extra things that we have tried to do in the past or we have done in the past. And I'm really trying to hone in on the nitty-gritty, so to speak. What do we really need to work on? What do we really need to focus on? What is interesting to my daughter right now? What is she passionate about? How can we incorporate more of what she loves into our day-to-day homeschool routine and less of what is busy work or just not really serving us and not really serving the goals that we have for her for fourth grade? So let's start off with math. If you've been around for a while, you know that we have been using the Dimensions program from Singapore Math for years. I really love Dimensions Math. I feel like it's rigorous. It really helps for my girls to get conceptual math understanding while also helping them build their mental math automaticity. However, my daughter, soon to be fourth grader, is finishing up level 3B. So she is still in the middle of the second part of the third grade level. I was hopeful that she would wrap 3B by July. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. So whatever she has left with 3B will just carry us into the beginning of fourth grade. As we've been working through 3B, it just seemed like the workload was increasing exponentially. And what I mean by workload is the actual amount of pages and equations and math problems in each lesson or section of the curriculum. We actually tend to use all 3 components. We use the textbook, the workbook, and the tests. But because towards the end of third grade, and I imagine even more so in fourth grade, the workload is increasing in each of those components, it just started to feel really overwhelming. For second grade, we were able to really alternate what we were using. So for example, on Monday, we would do the lesson in the textbook. On Tuesday, we would do the workbook exercises. Wednesday, we would do the next lesson in the textbook. Thursday, the workbook, and so on and so on. And then about halfway through a chapter, we would do test A. And at the end of a chapter or towards the beginning of the next chapter, we would do test B. And my daughter would complete every single problem and every single equation in all 3 components, which already felt like a lot, but for us, it was doable in second grade, and it was even doable in the first part of third grade. But in 3B, it has no longer felt doable. And what I mean by that is not that the problems are so overly difficult and challenging that she can't do them. She is able to physically and mentally do the math. We just simply don't have enough time in our day or in our week to get to all of those components, to get to all the problems and equations. So I started to question, do I really want to stick with dimensions? Do I need to switch to a different math curriculum? I had some conversations with a few friends who were using dimensions and were a little bit ahead of me, who had switched from dimensions to another math program. In some cases, another math program by the same publisher, like Primary 22, which is another math program by Singapore Math. And I sort of weighed all of the pros and cons of what it would mean for us to switch. So as of right now, I have decided that we're not going to switch. What I realized is it's not really a matter of this program isn't working and we need to switch. It's a matter of scheduling and expectations. So I am changing my expectations. I'm no longer expecting that we are going to touch every single page, every single math problem, every single component or book in this curriculum. Just time-wise, that is not feasible. That is not a reasonable expectation. And it's not even recommended by the curriculum publisher itself. I'm really going to try to touch each of the books, so textbook, workbook, tests, but we're going to do maybe half of all that's assigned for each lesson in each of those books. If you want more details on how I schedule out our dimensions math lessons and the changes that I'm making for 4th grade, let me know and maybe I can make an upcoming video all about that. Bottom line is we are not changing math. We will be sticking to dimensions. So my daughter is in 3B right now. She will just keep chugging along with that. And hopefully in the next month to 3 months, she will start 4A. One little change that we are making, and I touched on this in our 1st grade picks video, I am not going to get any additional workbooks or resources for logic or critical thinking this year. We have always done that in the past. We are dropping it this year. Both of my daughters really enjoy logic workbooks, critical thinking workbooks. I have shared several on this channel before and we've liked all of them. However, I started to notice that these types of puzzles and logic brain workbooks are really, really easy for my kids. Like they fly through them. And I wasn't really seeing that they were actually learning anything from them or acquiring new skills. It was really more of busy work and something that they would do almost just for fun, which is totally fine. Like they do workbooks for fun. That's the sweetest, nerdiest thing I've ever heard. But again, I am trying to prioritize things and make the best use of our time, which is limited, and our workload in essentials is increasing. So anything that's not essential, anything that is not really helping them to develop new academic skills or new understanding and knowledge, I just don't think it's going to be worth our time. So no logic or critical thinking, at least for this school year. Okay, let's talk language arts because that is the big umbrella that most of these 4th grade resources are going to fall into. Another change that we are making this year, I am not getting a handwriting workbook for my 4th grader. Basically, at this point, she has got letter formation down. She prints really well. She writes in cursive very well. In fact, her handwriting is better than mine and my husband's. So we are dropping handwriting for her. She will not have a handwriting program or book this year. For spelling, which she definitely still needs practice with, we are actually going to be sticking with what's working really well for us, which is these workbooks, 180 Days of Spelling and Word Study. Now, we started this late in the school year for her this past year. So she's about halfway through with the 3rd grade level. I'm just going to have her finish that up. However long it takes, not a big deal. The extra spelling practice definitely won't hurt. And then whenever she finishes the 3rd grade book, we will go ahead and get her the 4th grade book and so on. Okay, for reading. Wow, this was kind of tough for me because She is finishing up her last level of All About Reading, level 4. She only has a handful of lessons left. I expect that she will be done with them before we officially start 4th grade in August. And that left me with kind of this big hole or vacancy to fill. And I'm thinking, okay, she's a very fluent reader, but doesn't she still need more reading instruction? One of the things that I decided to do while I was going through this planning and brainstorming process for reading is I actually decided to give her some assessments to see where her skill level was with reading fluency, and with reading comprehension. So I actually reached out to this amazing former public school educator turned homeschool mom. I came to know her through Instagram. She also has an amazing YouTube channel that I can share with you in the description box below. Her name's Sarah. Her channel here and her IG handle are Homespun Childhood. She has some pretty great online courses, and in fact, I'm going to be sharing about one of them in an upcoming video. Sarah was able to point me towards a really fantastic reading assessment tool. So I started my daughter with the 3rd grade assessment because she was wrapping up 3rd grade. And what we're really testing for is reading fluency with accuracy, right? So how many words is she able to read from the assigned page in the assessment without making a mistake? And then you're also asking questions after she's finished reading to see how much she comprehended and remembered from what she read. Long story short, my 4th grader flew through the 3rd grade assessment without blinking an eye. So then I did the 4th grade assessment and she flew through that too. So then I did the 5th grade assessment and that one was pretty easy for her too. So now I'm thinking, okay, we're definitely reading above grade level. Where is the cap? Where is the stopping point? These assessments go from 1st grade to 8th grade. So I started her on the 3rd grade one and we worked our way up all the way to the 8th grade one. And she passed every single one. She passed the 8th grade one. She had zero trouble decoding any of the words. She was reading very fluently. She would change her inflection based on punctuation. We've never done any formal assessments or testing because it's not required in my state. So I had no idea what to expect. And it was such a pleasant surprise and a delight to see that my almost 4th grader is reading on an 8th grade or above level. So my goals for 4th grade are I want to introduce her to a wider array of literature. We have always used a lot of literature in our homeschool, but up until recently, the amount of novels and longer chapter books that we've covered is somewhat limited compared to the amount of picture books. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not going to read picture books with my 4th grader anymore. We love picture books. They're not going anywhere. But because of these assessments, I realized that I also need to be challenging her appropriately, both with the novels that she reads independently and also with the chapter books and novels that I'm selecting for us to do as read alouds. I will be going into all of that in next week's literature and read aloud video. So basically, we're not using a formal curriculum for reading for 4th grade. It's going to be a combination of things. It's going to be a combination of her reading independently and doing summaries and book reports about what she's read. We are also going to be going much heavier on our family read alouds and literature than we ever have before in previous years. We're going to be doing a lot more literature study units as a family, but really I'm going to be focusing on working with my 4th grader primarily. And finally, the only sort of formal grade level thing that I'm going to be pulling from for reading is I'm going to be pulling from core knowledge language arts. Now, I'm actually looking at a range in the units with core knowledge. I'm looking at 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade units. The units are done by subject, right? For example, right now we are covering ancient Rome. I pulled from the 3rd grade unit on ancient Rome. I'm not using it as designed. I'm not using it as our main curriculum for history with our family because with core knowledge, their language arts units change at the 3rd grade level. The readers from 3rd grade on are really independent readers that are providing such rich content and information to the student. So the great thing about that is what I have done with Ancient Rome is I downloaded the student reader to my daughter's tablet. I printed any activity sheets or worksheets that were included in that unit that I really wanted her to do. And I started to just assign my daughter chapters in that reader. So today you're going to read chapters 1 through 3. And afterwards, either today or tomorrow, you're going to do this activity page, this worksheet that directly corresponds with what you just read in your independent reader. Because this was our first time doing anything like that, where I'm assigning her chapters to read, I went ahead and had her actually read the chapters to me aloud, just so I could double check that she's fluent, she's understanding what she's reading. And y'all, I have to say, it has gone really, really well. We've only done it with one unit, but looking ahead, picking and choosing from 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, I already see that there's more units that are going to tie in really nicely with what I have on the docket for history, social studies, science, that kind of thing. Mostly history. I am not going to have her cover every single core knowledge unit for a particular grade level. I'm just going to be pulling from it as a supplement, which is kind of how I've always used it. But in these higher elementary grade levels, she's going to be doing a lot of it more independently, which is so awesome because one of my biggest drawbacks with core knowledge is how teacher intensive it is to plan and to use and to teach. So the way that I'm using it now with her is a lot more hands-off for me. And it really is just deepening and enriching our studies that we're doing as a family for her. So we were all reading about ancient Rome as a family, but she has gone even deeper because of that independent reader from the core knowledge unit. She covered Roman gods and goddesses on a way deeper level than we were doing as a family with her younger sister. And the readers from core knowledge are really beautiful. They have gorgeous illustrations. They have rich vocabulary words that are written in bold so that you know this is a critical vocabulary word for your kiddo. She really loves that she can read them digitally on her tablet. We don't do a lot of digital reading in our family, so that feels a little bit grown up and special for her. So yeah, I mean, core knowledge, 10 stars, 10 out of 10. Okay, for grammar and composition. I made a whole video where I was brainstorming with you guys what we were going to be using for grammar and composition. If you missed that video, I'll pop it in the cards. But this year for 4th grade, we're actually going to be covering grammar family style, which is new for us. We're going to be using Beowulf's grammar from Guest Hollow, and I'm very excited about it. It feels very laid back and relaxed and fun. And as I've done more research, I've realized that grammar taught all on its own, isolated from everything else, is not really the best use of your time. It's not really going to stick with kids. The best way to learn grammar is to directly tie it to composition and writing. So in using Beowulf's grammar, my goals are really just to teach grammar basics to my 1st grader because she hasn't really covered grammar formally at all. And also just do a review with my 4th grader of things that I think we have already covered to an extent. My hope for it is that it's going to feel very playful and fun for them to do it together. Then hopefully as my 4th grader is writing more, she'll be able to sort of put what she's learning into practice. Of course, that is all theory at this point because we haven't used this program yet, but that's what I'm hoping for. So then for writing and composition, we're going to be using Write by Number. I did talk about that in the brainstorming video. I also have a really thorough flip through of Write by Number. If you're interested in seeing that, I'll pop it in the cards. The other components of composition for my 4th grader are going to be from literature study units and also from our family learning, specifically in history. She'll be doing things like copy work. There is a significant amount of writing included in all of those core knowledge units that I'm going to be pulling from. We'll keep using Lit House Learning as a way to practice sentence level skills. Those activities are based on the Writing Revolution. And again, I do have a whole video about Lit House Learning if you're interested. I want to offer her variety in her writing assignments, but I also want them to be structured and explicit on a specific scaffolded path as she grows in her writing skills. Last but not least for 4th grade is vocabulary. And this really ties into our goals for challenging, enriching reading, and continuing to grow in her writing stamina and skills. Last year, we started using this Merriam-Webster word of the day, which literally offers a new vocabulary word and definition for every day of the year from January through December. We really like it. It's fun. It's silly. We did not get through the whole book. I mean, we weren't using it on the weekends, so there's definitely some days in there that we missed. So I'm going to continue incorporating that book at least once or twice a week just to expose my girls to some more words. I'm also going to be focusing on the vocabulary lists from Core Knowledge for any of the units that we are pulling from. I am going to be introducing something new for vocabulary, and it's actually not really new because we've already had it on our bookshelf for a couple of years. I'm going to be reading through Building Language from the Michael Clay Thompson Language Arts program. If my 1st grader wants to listen in, that's totally fine, but my main focus is to try to read this with my 4th grader. A couple of years ago, I bought the entire Michael Clay Thompson Language Arts program in the 1st level, the island level, and we tried out the grammar portion, Grammar Island, and it was a huge flop for us. So I just shelved it all, and we didn't even touch the other books that are included in that level. So there's a whole poetics component and a whole vocabulary component that we didn't look at all. I recently pulled those books down off the shelf as I was sorting and organizing our homeschool space and deciding what needs to be stored away and what should I sell or give away. And I flipped through the Building Language books and I was like, you know what? We should give this a shot. Even if we're doing it separately from all the other Michael Clay Thompson stuff, from the looks of it, it is a standalone resource. Like, you can use it independently from the grammar and all of that. It covers a lot of etymology, Latin word roots, and it's really presented just as a reader for your child to read on their own or for you to read with your child. It's not very text heavy, it's illustrated, and it's not written in the silly narrative way that the grammar book was written in that just did not appeal to my daughter at all. It's written in a much more straightforward fashion. So we're gonna try it. I am just gonna read a little bit with her and see how it goes, see if she enjoys it. If for some reason that doesn't work out, I do have a couple of other resources on my radar for vocabulary that I can look into for the last part of 4th grade or 5th grade next year. Right now, based on the reading assessments that we did, I think that my daughter's vocabulary is pretty advanced for her age and her grade level. So it's not something that I'm stressing about necessarily, but I definitely want to build on her current skills and I want to continue to have fun with vocabulary with her. I also think that since we recently covered ancient Greece and ancient Rome, that learning some of these Greek and Latin roots will be timely and she'll appreciate it more. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'll definitely update y'all. Okay, that's all of math and language arts. Those are the main skills that we really focus on. But there is one additional skill that I really want to try focusing on in 4th grade, and that is typing. Now, my daughter's done a little bit of typing instruction off and on in the past. We've never stuck with it consistently. I think that building her typing skills is going to help us with our academic goal of more writing and composition. So for typing, we're going to stick with the program that we have used off and on in the past, which is typesy.com. I think I have a whole video about Typesy, so I will put that in the cards if I can find it. It's an older video. I'm also going to look into typing.com. I think that's what it is. I think it's just typing.com. Because I've had a few friends say that they really like that one. So I'm just going to, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks with typing. I'm going to try to start off with the goal of her doing like 10 minutes of typing a day and just see where to go from there. Honestly, though, the prospect of focusing more on typing has just made me so sad that Mavis Beacon is not a thing anymore. Anybody else learn to type with Mavis Beacon? Anybody? I loved Mavis Beacon as a kid. Like, I just adored her. And I realized now as an adult, she's a fictional person. But I didn't know that at the time. So yeah, I wish Mavis Beacon was still a thing. If anybody out there, by some miracle, knows how to use Mavis Beacon, on an iMac from the last decade? Let me know in the comment section. For social emotional learning, social emotional awareness, we're going to continue with the Heart and Mind workbooks from Evan Moore. I have one for each of my girls according to their age. And so my oldest daughter, as she goes into 4th grade, she's just going to keep working on the current workbook that she has. It's still applicable for her. She still has plenty to do in there. This is a really fantastic resource that served our family well. These workbooks are simple, easy to use, and I find them to be quite effective and beneficial for my kids. They're also very affordable, so that is a definite plus. We don't pull out these workbooks every day. We don't even pull them out every week, but it's a nice extra to have on hand. I especially like to pull these out on days where I feel like we need a reset, or maybe there's been some sibling squabbling, or maybe one of my kiddos is not feeling their best. They're also just great for slower days or days where maybe we're not feeling up to a whole lot of academic work, even days when we're off from school or days when my husband's home with us. I just like having these around, and both of my girls seem to really enjoy them. All right, y'all, that's it for 4th grade. Stay tuned for our family curricula choices and also our literature and read aloud plan for the year. If you have any questions, as always, you can reach me in the comment section or you can DM me on Instagram.